Hello and welcome to Political Capital, the intersection of money and politics. I'm Karabole Tlhatla. This week marks the 25th anniversary of the passing of Chris Hani, an SACP and ANC leader who was also a member of Mkondo Wesizwe, militant through and through and revolutionary from birth. Chris Hani's commemoration coincides with the national funeral of another ANC stalwart in Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, who was also vociferous in her own stance with and without the ANC, and also telling truth to power. These two revolutionaries collide this week, and here is a little bit about them.
But first, let's take a look at how the newspapers are treating the passing of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Mama Winnie fought for us to get freedom. Supporters remember Madikizela-Mandela at Memorial. She has been our icon, our internationalist, an activist, and always there for the poor. So says Social Development Minister Susan Shabangu. Mother of the nation, Winnie Mandela to rest. Thousands gather at the stadium. So says the Daily Mail in London. In the week since her death, there has been an outpouring of support for Ms. Madikizela-Mandela, despite the controversies surrounding her. She was a symbol of hope to many of us, so says President Cyril Ramaphosa. A slightly sour twist on the story is how the ANC betrayed Winnie in the Mail and Guardian. And this surrounds comments by former President Thabo Mbeki in his tribute. I'm saying that some of the activity would even verge on recklessness. For instance, this incident when she said something to the fact with our matches and necklaces we will liberate the country. That was wrong. So says former President Mbeki in his tribute, which brought a bite back from social media. We are mourning and he is busy insulting the legacy of Umama Winnie, says one. At times, silence is golden, says another. Now, another of the big stories in politics this week was the passing of Chris Hani, who was gunned down in his driveway 25 years ago.
The 10th of April 1993, the day the future of South Africa hung in the balance. The brutal assassination of Chris Hani was meant to throw the CODESA negotiations into disarray and inspire the politics of fear. It was one of South Africa's darkest hours.
I think it was going to take us back to almost the 1960s when the ANC took a decision to go to the arms struggle. It was going to be reversed 40 years backwards. I think that's how you can just identify it, that will not have been here today, will not have a democratic government, will not have a black president. So it was really a painful exercise, and I think the leadership of Mandela had to think deep and said, what is it? I mean, their years, release from prison will have come to zero. I think they will have died in prisons because really they were going to go back to the streets and they were likely to be either rearrested, sent back to jail. But South Africa will be in flames, I think, if that happens in that way. So it was a painful exercise and a test of leadership.
25 years on, alliance partners of the SACP, ANC and COSATU met as they do each year in Boksburg, Ekurhuleni, to pay homage to a leading light of the revolution. Upon his death, Chris Hani was the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, a member of Mkondo Wesizwe, the armdoing of the African National Congress, and a man who never shied away from telling the truth, including criticizing the leadership of the ANC for the pace of change.
I think we remember him every day. I mean, there are those people that, as I indicated, that every time we come here, we're not just coming to talk to the family. I think we're coming to talk to ourselves and say what Chris stood for, the language he was speaking. Those issues have not been completed, and we've got the responsibility to recharge ourselves, to give ourselves that encouragement and commitment to take forward what he stood for.
Chris Hani was popular with the common man. He was loved and followed by many who saw him as a future leader of South Africa. Here in Boksburg, his fighting spirit lives on.
Apartheid was not kind, and I'm putting it mildly. And we are told every day how we need to get over it. As I stand a few feet from my father's grave, I am very clear that I'll never get over it. And to those people saying that saying that particular thing we should get over it, I think they need to exercise a whole lot of empathy, sensitivity, and just take a step off that pedestal of privilege to acknowledge and accept what we went through. Moreover, they should never get over it. It was the darkest time of this country, and the healing, working through it, should be a collective effort, and not just one for the previously, and a lot of people still currently oppressed of this country. It is our painful collective history. We must own it, embrace it, and work through it. I think forgiveness and reconciliation was thrust upon us before we were ready. I am yet to recollect the apartheid government as a whole apologizing for those atrocities. I find it is difficult to forgive something that even the perpetrators have not even acknowledged.
The working class must take the gauntlet by its horns and make sure that it fulfills the missions of these many heroes and heroines of our people who had fallen, particularly on this critical month. As we now know, we'll be burying Winnie Madikizela-Mandela this weekend. We continue to express our sincere condolences to the family as well as to the people of South Africa as a whole. But of course, you have mentioned President O.R. Tambo, who also passed on this month, a great hero of our people, one of the greatest leaders of our movement. In fact, on the continent, highly revered, a man who led by example through the very most difficult period of our movement.
We're talking about the reconfigure of the alliance, because unless the alliance works in the manner that we do, we are really not as influential as we're supposed to be. The question, of course, is that what should we then do? What is an alternate? Can we just pull out? Every time when we do the assessment, we think the alliance is the best vehicle. That's why we're pondering all this question all the time and said, what next? If you move out from the alliance, are you going to be better off or not? And our members keep telling us and said, this alliance is the shortest route to socialism. Go back there and influence them. So we accept that we may not have been as influenced as we're supposed to be, but is a contestation of power within the ANC itself.
For most people here, the new South Africa that Hani fought for is far away.
We're too far. Capitalism is a source of divisions and problems that many of our societies faces. It's a source of inequality in our society. It's the source of poverty in our society, because the primary wealth under socialism is labor of people. And that labor has been expropriated by capital, which is using it for its own profit maximization interest. And as a result, it has not accorded us as a people the opportunity to be properly free. We are politically free. We are not yet independent. We do not own the economy, because under the capitalist system, the economy is owned by big corporates, the elitists, who are now controlling exchange of goods and services at a premium. Therefore, the fight against the system of capitalism remains essential. It's a critical struggle in order for people to be truly free.
We have won the political leg of it. But more important for Comrade Chris Hani is the economic emancipation of our people. We are still far from there. As I indicated, that 9.2 million people are unemployed. 50% of the working class are earning less than 5,000 rand. The challenges facing our people is huge.
Another big focus of this week was the passing of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, and here in a small spot in a small town, there was once despair for one of Africa's most famous daughters. The Free State town of Brentford was where Winnie Madikizela-Mandela was banished by the apartheid government in the 1970s. Lubabalo Mashikana went there on the day of the big memorial service for her and filed this report.
A woman who knew Winnie Madikizela-Mandela better than most is Nomafa Nora Mhlaudi. For nearly a decade, she lived next door to her in Brantford, the place where the activist was banished to. The former teacher also gave evidence in court to save Mamuwili from jail time in connection with the death of Stompie Siepi.
Winnie was a mother to whoever, a granny to our grandchildren. And Winnie, she was everything in Brantford. This is a great loss. May her soul rest in peace.
Take us through Mamuwili's time here in Brantford and tell us about the pictures you have in your hand.
These are the memories. The very first project that Winnie established in 1983 was a daycare center for the children. These are the memories of which we kept this with a hope that this museum business one day will be erected, and then these are what we are going to put in Brantford. This was the preparation for the very first graduation for the daycare center.
The celebration in Brantford was arranged by the opposition, economic freedom fighters. Its leader, Julius Malema, described Madikizela-Mandela as a caring mother who breathed life into the name Mother of the Nation. The poor state of the abandoned former home of Madikizela-Mandela in Brantford was mentioned by most speakers.
The ANC is committed to push forward with the program of preserving this legacy of this small town of Brantford, where Comrade Winnie was banished for 9 years.
The mayor of Cape Town, Patricia de Lille, raised eyebrows with her appearance here, especially given the troubles with her own party. She is the leading light in the EFF's arch rivals, the Democratic Alliance. Aside from political squabbles, this day in Brantford ended in musical celebration.
After the break, we speak to someone who knew the life and times of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, and he will be giving us intimate moments right on the other side of this. Stay tuned.